Welcome to We Are North Texas, a podcast brought to you by the University of North Texas system that focuses on innovation, compassion, ideas, and accomplishments in our home region of Dallas-Fort Worth. The UNT system is the only university system based in DFW and includes the University of North Texas, UNT Health Science Center, and UNT Dallas. With our heart in North Texas, we transform lives and create economic opportunity through education. Welcome to the We Are North Texas podcast. I'm Paul Corliss, Chief Communications Officer for the University of North Texas system, and bringing in a friend of our chancellor, Lisa Rowe, today. Jennifer Bartkowski is the CEO for Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. Jennifer, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you and I had never met before, but I do remember a few years back when our chancellor first started, she went out and had a visit with you. Talk about that meeting that you guys had.
Yeah, I was so excited that Lisa came to UNT and to the North Texas area from NASA. And, we were in the midst of really making our name around workforce development in STEM. And so I wanted to make sure she had an opportunity to see what we were doing. And she had been involved in Girl Scouts, I guess, in Florida, where she was from. And when she got to North Texas, she agreed to come out and see the STEM Center of Excellence in Southwest Dallas. So I got to give her a tour of the work we were doing there at our $15 million STEM Center of Excellence and how we were trying to change the way girls were thinking about science, technology, engineering, and math programs, activities, and ultimately careers. She loved it, I think. And we decided that there were definitely more partnership opportunities between Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas and the university.
No, she did enjoy the visit and has such a passion for STEM as somebody who's, kind of broken some barriers in STEM fields of NASA, kind of being the number two person in charge over there. We're glad she's with us now. But now you've been with the Girl Scouts since 2009. You came from United Way. Kind of walk us through your career arriving in sort of a chief operating officer fundraising position and then moving into the CEO spot.
Yeah, so I graduated from Texas A&M University, undergraduate and graduate degree. My graduate degree is actually in public administration with a focus on nonprofit management. So I've been in a nonprofit role pretty much most of my 25-year career. And I left United Way of Metropolitan Dallas in 2009 and came full circle to Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. I was a Girl Scout growing up. I was a Girl Scout through 9th grade. I earned my silver award. My mother was my leader. Her mother was her leader. I sold lots of Girl Scout cookies, went to camp every summer. So it was kind of fun to get to come full circle to the leadership journey that I'm on now. Absolutely. I started out as the chief development officer in 2009. 2013, I became executive vice president and chief operating officer. And then in 2014, our CEO resigned and I was the succession plan and got to step right into a really interesting and challenging and huge opportunity period for Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. And I've been in this role ever since. So almost celebrating 7 years now, I guess.
Well, so Girl Scouts is sort of in your blood from way back. Does that make the job extra special?
It really does. I love getting to interact with girls because I can kind of see my own self back in the day, kind of shy, not a lot of confidence, unsure of what I'm going to do next or where I'm going to go or what the future holds for me. And I can see myself in those girls and I know they're going to be okay because they're going to get to go through this process. And so that's really special. And I just feel like I've been on this leadership journey my whole entire life, ever since I was a, Brownie Girl Scout in 1st or 2nd grade and all the way through to today when I get to lead a council of 26,000 girls across Northeast Texas.
No, it's got to be a fun path that you've taken. Well, how has the organization evolved since your time as a Girl Scout to where we are today? Because in doing some of my research, just better understanding Girl Scouts, you guys are really focused on some certain initiatives, STEM, obviously, as you mentioned, being one of them. How have things changed over the years?
I think in a lot of ways, Girl Scouts has had to change. And in many ways, Girl Scouts has wanted to change to better serve the girls of today. And I think probably the most important word to use here is relevance. So when you think back to when I was a Girl Scout, my mother was a stay-at-home mom and she was a mother of 5 children and she was our troop leader and she had the time to do it. And she could take a lot of time to figure out what she wanted us to do and work with us and all of that kind of stuff. Today's parents are not all stay-at-home moms. They're busy working moms. So we've had to adjust our model. We've had to go to more of a digital model, a more kind of, we always joke that we're trying to find the easy button for our volunteers to make it as easy as possible for them. We're trying to make sure that we are, very focused on what the research tells us girls need today. So, in our community, in our organization, everything is girl-only space, which is really powerful for our girls. It's girl-led, it's hands-on, it's collaborative learning. That's how girls learn and lead best. And we know that through years, decades really of research. And then I think probably the most important thing is we've shifted our focus from maybe what was, traditional Girl Scout programming to what is most relevant for our girls and our communities today. So thus the focus on science, technology, engineering, math, which is building that workforce pipeline for the future. Girls are underrepresented in those careers. That means they're getting less salary. They're not getting the opportunities that others are getting. So we got to make space for them. With the pandemic, we're focused on mental health and really have launched in the last year and a half a strong mental health and wellness initiative to help girls find comfort within themselves, but also explore the stigma that we have around mental health in our communities. This year, we've really enhanced and elevated our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that's what girls need and want. So really, relevance is probably the biggest change for our organization, as well as just coming into the 21st century, making sure that we're delivering, on that Amazon.com experience that everybody wants these days. They don't want to take hours and hours to do a program or activity. They want it at their fingertips, and we've got to come there. We've got to get there.
Well, and I'm going to ask you to elaborate on some of those subjects, but you did mention the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic slightly. And I wanted to give me some details on what has had to change. I'm assuming there was some form of in-person. Has that gone away? And then, of course, everybody wants to know, how do you sell cookies during the
That's
pandemic?
Right. It is hard to believe that it was almost 1 year ago, isn't it? I just can't believe it.
You and me both.
I can remember to the day when we had to shut everything down. But no, I mean, of course, pre-pandemic, everything was in person, as it was for so many programs and youth activities. But starting on March 15th, I remember the day, we shifted to a virtual model because everything was shut down. And within 48 hours, we were delivering virtual programming to our girls because we knew it was critical. We sensed that they were going to start being isolated. We sensed they were going to need some help with the anxiety they were going to face with the uncertainty ahead. So within about 48 hours, we shifted to virtual programming. I kind of joke, our first couple programs out of the box probably were not fantastic because we'd never done it before like everybody else.
Learning on the fly.
It took us a little time to get our feet on the ground. We unfortunately, it was heartbreaking, had to cancel summer camp last summer. So every summer we have more than 2,000 girls go to day, twilight, and resident camps. And gosh, I think in 2020 they needed it more than ever, but we couldn't do it in a way that was safe. So we canceled that, and we had to go to a virtual, actually hybrid model where girls got a box on their doorstep called Camp Out of the Box, and they had a virtual experience with a counselor and with other girls, and then had offline activities as well. We escalated our mental health initiative starting last April, promoted our diversity, equity, inclusion work, really leaned into our STEM programming because of the STEM, academic slide that our girls are seeing at school, and our teachers are needing us to step in with project-based learning. So a lot of things have shifted. We're still virtual, but we started doing in-person programming in September for families, then for Girl Scout troops, small groups of 10 or less, masked, socially distant. I think that started in November. And we are about to announce that we are going to have summer camp this summer, which I'm so happy about. But it will look different, right? We'll be masked, we'll be socially distanced, it'll be in cohorts. Safety's number one. And after that, we need to just make sure our girls have the experiences they need.
Absolutely. And interestingly, we were having a discussion the other day in a meeting with our leadership team, and we talked about, some of us are beginning to get the vaccine and feel a little bit more safe, but it's going to be a while before that gets down to our kids. So, I suppose you have to consider that you're going to be operating in this way a little bit longer than, a normal business.
Yeah. I mean, I hope most of our staff and our volunteers will be vaccinated by, mid to late summer. That's, hopeful, seems realistic that might happen, but we don't know when kids are going to be able to be vaccinated. I know there's some, pilots and tests and things happening, but we don't know when that will be. I do hope with everything I have that girls are in school in the fall and actually all in person in school, because I think they really need that social and emotional learning that they can only get in either a classroom or a Girl Scout opportunity, but in person with others. So I really am hopeful for that. What I worry about as we look ahead is our access to schools, because schools, even if they do allow girls in or kids in, will they be able to invite in extracurricular activities, outside organizations? I know our schools want Girl Scouts in the picture, but trying to do it in a safe way is still challenging. And all of that is very unknown to us right now. So we're looking right now, we're being very innovative, thinking differently about how we access families, connect with families, diverse families. We know girls need us. We have these critical services they need right now. We just got to figure out how to get to them.
Yeah, and you're talking about mental health, and I have a daughter who's in high school, and we know kids from various schools, and some kids have been in person, some haven't, some have had some form of hybrid, and it feels, in my uneducated opinion, just observing, that it feels like it's been tougher for the kids that are not in school to adapt, even if you're in school with a mask, which my daughter's school has been. There's at least that routine that happens. Yeah. Is that something you consider in the mental health initiative? And how does that work? Is that, do you have counselors that will talk to girls individually, or is it just identifying, hey, I don't feel so good? How does it work?
So about 18 months ago, we started working on a mental health initiative totally unrelated to the pandemic, because we were starting to see girls show up at camps and activities with high levels of anxiety, loneliness, some depression, some some were hurting themselves, some were even talking about suicidal ideation. And we knew it was a problem. What we decided was we were experts in girls. We were not experts in mental health. So we went out and found the experts in mental health, including Grant Halliburton, UT Southwestern, Center for Brain Health, Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute, many others, pulled together an advisory group and launched a couple of programs, including one patch called the OK to Say patch, which is a lot about helping girls K through 12 talk about mental health and their own issues with mental health, but also talking about stigma and helping to release the stigma for the next generation. Then when COVID hit, we accelerated that work. We put a staff person in charge of it. We really leaned on our partners to see where we should be addressing that for our Girl Scouts today. And I too have a high school student, a senior in high school, and it's been really rough on her, going from a really active, confident, out there all the time young woman to somebody who's isolated. She's still doing virtual school. It's been hard. And we watch our 26,000 girls. Many of them are experiencing loneliness at the highest rate they've ever felt it. Anxiety is in record rates. Depression is rising. And so what we're trying to do, Girl Scouts really is a preventative approach, as well as some identification. We can certainly give girls the coping mechanisms and skills they need to manage their anxiety and identify their anxiety. We can help our volunteers and our families identify when there is mental health challenges with their girls, but we're not going to treat it. Now, we'll give them skills like how to meditate and how to deep breathe and all those things, wellness services. But we want our girls to go find help, and really helping them have those conversations with their families. And many of our families are diverse families. Mental health is not something you talk about, and yet our girls need to talk about it more than ever. So there's a lot of education in our plan. In fact, my board of directors meets on Thursday, and we are presenting our mental health 3-year strategic plan to our board. We're really excited about the direction we're headed, and we think it can have a national impact.
It's so relevant. It's interesting, the initiatives that you guys have at Girl Scouts are a lot of the same initiatives we have at UNT for our students, and even for our employees during this challenging time.
Well, it's so interesting. I'm serving K through 12. They're going to leave me and go to college. They're going to go to UNT, and that doesn't mean they're going to leave their mental health issues behind. They're going to come with all that baggage and all those challenges. So I'm really glad to hear that you all are preparing for the entry of those high school seniors who come into the university environment and still need that support.
Absolutely. No, it's a huge priority. Well, I'm going to continue on serious subjects, but cookies, how did cookies work during the pandemic? Now, I have seen, I don't know if this is breaking the rules, I have gone to the grocery store and seen the young lady and her mom sort of set up with tables. Good. So there's some in-person sales, but did you do some virtual? Fill me in. Everybody loves the cookies. Samoas are my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I love a good Samoa. I love a frozen Thin Mint. Cookies is not only so important to our girls, and the average Girl Scout troop earns about $1,500 every year to pay for programs and activities. So for our low to moderate income families, the cookie program is what makes this a perpetual program for them, an accessible program. So it's really important to our families, but it's also important to our community. I mean, cookies is a sign of normalcy.
Yeah.
And when the economy is bad, when life is tough, cookie sales and all snack product sales go through the roof. So we knew that there would be demand, and sure enough, there is. So this year we've always had a digital platform, but in the past it's been about 10% of our overall sales. This year it's skyrocketed. I think it's 40 to 50% of our sales this year. We opened that in early December instead of January, so we opened it up a little bit early. But we also allowed our girls to go out masked and socially distanced and sell in front of grocery stores and Lowe's and Walmarts and other things. We also had a partnership with Grubhub this year to allow contactless delivery.
Oh, cool.
So we really tried to think outside of the box. I mean, how can we get our girls involved in digital sales? I mean, these girls are entrepreneurs. They own their own business for 6 weeks. They wanted access to that digital platform and they took full advantage of it. I'll tell you, the demand has meant that most of our girls are plowing through their goals, and it's super fun to watch them. So I hope you've gotten enough. If not, you can still buy cookies through March 21st. So you're in good shape.
Oh, I was going to ask you if we want to buy cookies and we don't know a Girl Scout, where do we go to make that happen?
Well, you can go to our website at gsnetx.org and find the cookie finder. You can put in your zip code and it will connect you to a Girl Scout troop. So no worries, we got you covered.
All right, I have a foodie nerd question. Who or how are the recipes controlled over the years for consistency? Because I can have a Girl Scout cookie that takes me back to being a kid myself and remembering, having those in the freezer at our house.
Yeah. So this is inside baseball here. Not everybody knows this stuff.
I love it.
We have 2 national bakeries. We have ABC Bakery and we have Little Brownie Bakery. Our council partners with Little Brownie Bakery to make sure we have our cookies every single year. They're owned by the Ferrara Group, which is a big company, owns Nutella and some other big brands that you might recognize. But actually, the Northeast Texas Council has Little Brownie Bakery. The Fort Worth Council has ABC Bakery. So the cookies are slightly different. Oh, okay. I know the Thin Mints or the Samoas, they're a little bit different from council to council. The names are different. You might have a Samoa here. You'd have a Caramel Delight over there. The lemon cookies are different. Some people like their cookie better than our cookie. But it gives you a little bit of variety in this North Texas market.
I love it. Back behind the scenes with Girl Scouts cookies. I love it. Getting into a more serious topic, not that it isn't one of the greatest success stories really in any nonprofit, the cookie program, but I want to talk a little bit more about your STEM program. As I mentioned, it is such a passion for our chancellor, who was a first generation college graduate, became an engineer and worked her way up at NASA and worked in an organization that was really largely dominated by men and then became our first woman chancellor here at University of North Texas System. What led Girl Scouts to focus in that direction? It was just lack of female representation in that space, or what led you there?
Yeah, it was a couple of things. And, Lisa is such a great example of what we want to do for our girls, is give them access and opportunity and understanding of what their future could hold. So it's been about 10 or 11 years now, we were facing a workforce pipeline shortage here in North Texas. And quite honestly, we still are. And really the catalyst for starting the STEM Center of Excellence, we've been doing STEM programming for 100 years, but we'd really been doing it in a way that girls got to explore and try STEM programs and careers, but we weren't really driving them toward education and ultimately career. So we took a slightly different approach. And the reason we did was because Texas Instruments actually came to us and said, look, we have a workforce crisis on our hands. There are not enough engineers in North Texas to hire. You have all the girls. Can you make them all become engineers? And we said, well, maybe we can. We've been doing this work a long time, but probably not in a way that was driving girls to that end goal like Texas Instruments wanted us to. And at that time, we were looking at our Camp Whispering Cedars in Southwest Dallas. It was a 92-acre campus, old pre-World War II infrastructure. And we knew we wanted to rehabilitate it, update it, and make it into something really special. And it's 20 minutes from downtown Dallas. So it was really accessible to so many of our Girl Scouts and girls who had not joined Girl Scouts yet. And so with Texas Instruments' help, we launched the STEM Center of Excellence. We raised $15 million over the course of a few years, partnered with companies like TI, Ericsson, AT&T, Toyota, so many other companies to really bring 21st century emerging technology to our girls. And now, even in the pandemic, we are doing programming around mechanical engineering, space science, science in the outdoors, coding. I mean, just anything you can imagine in science, technology, engineering, math. We even have math badges that are super fun. And what I tell families is, even if your daughter doesn't think she wants to go into STEM, what we know now is most girls want to change the world in their career. And the best way to change the world, she's going to need a background somewhere in science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's project-based learning, it's hands-on, it's girl-led, and our girls have a great time. They come out, they do some sort of science programming, maybe they do robotics or coding or some kind of program, and then they go swim, and then they come back and do some more, and then they go do some archery, and everything is integrated. So they might be up on the ropes course. Ropes course is physics. Our girls are doing physics. So we talk to them about the physics program. Archery is energy and motion. We talk about that. Everything we do. We have a new greenhouse that's IoT enabled. So our girls are monitoring from home what our greenhouse is doing, what our plants are doing. All of that is being built out right now. I mean, it's a really, really cool place. And the fact is, while we're experts in girls, we partnered with all the experts in STEM in North Texas, including every major university and including UNT. And then we work with STEM professionals from major corporations to help be mentors so our girls can see what that future scientist might look like. And it might just actually look like them. That's why people like Lisa are so important.
It's a wonderful resource for the community. A question for you sort of about trends, and we see this in education. So your STEM center that we're talking about is located in Southwest Dallas. Our youngest university in our system, University of North Texas at Dallas, is in South Dallas, and its student body is more urban and a lot of first generation students, very diverse campus. It's a minority majority campus recognized by the federal government for minority serving. And what we're noticing in enrollment trends is we have more females than males enrolled at UNT Dallas. And that would seem to go counter to where it was when you and I were growing up, where it felt like there were more guys in college. Now we've got more young ladies in college. I'm sure you have some data thoughts behind that. Can you share your perspective there?
Yeah, I mean, I think girls today are seeing more opportunities. They're understanding better how to get into college, how to pay for college. There are more people in their world that look like them that get into college. And so they're able to make those kinds of decisions. I think Girl Scouts plays a role in that. Our big focus really is, our mission is to develop girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. A lot of what we do is about showing girls opportunity and access and how that they can get access to those kinds of opportunities for the future. So yeah, no, absolutely. And I think most of our girls, when we talk to them about what do you want to do in the future, they want to do something that changes the world that they live in. And they're understanding, I think now more than ever, that to do that, college is a part of that plan. But we also have girls who don't want to go to college. We have, interest in trade and trade schools and the trade occupations, which, quite honestly, after the winter storm 2 weeks ago, we know that plumbers make really good paychecks.
That's right.
And we probably need more of them in our community and, other kinds of trade organizations. So what we're trying to help our girls understand is that they have opportunity to do whatever it is they want. And if they can identify what it is they want, or even start to identify what it is they want, Girl Scouts can kind of help them get there. And that's why partnerships with colleges like UNT are so important. So we have about 4,000 Girl Scouts who live in poverty. They don't necessarily have access to volunteers or financial resources or other opportunities. And we work with those girls in the school day, some of them in the school day, some after school. We take them out on college tours to schools like UNT so they can see, some of them have never met anyone who went to college. Some of them have never been on a college campus. All of a sudden that door opens up to them. And we've done a number of programs with UNT where we've taught those girls what financial aid looks like, how to fill out an application, how does somebody like me get to do this? And I think that you sometimes can get that in school, but schools are really busy making sure girls get the grades they need. What Girl Scouts does is we complement that approach with that social and emotional learning.
Absolutely. It's always great to give young ladies experiences that show them they can be anything.
Yeah.
You guys are obviously the local arm, Girl Scouts in Northeast Texas, big area, huge area, but you have a national presence as well. How does that relationship work? You've mentioned your mental health initiative was a local initiative, if I understood correctly. And then you've obviously got this local STEM center that's unbelievable and $15 million and growing. How does local and national relationship work?
Yeah. So Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas is 32 counties, 23,000 square miles here in Northeast Texas. We go from DFW Airport to Louisiana, up to Oklahoma, down to north of Waco. There's 7 Girl Scout councils in the state of Texas, about 200,000 Girl Scouts in the state of Texas. And every Girl Scout council is its own 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're chartered to Girl Scouts of the USA. And Girl Scouts of the USA designs a lot of the national curriculum, national marketing, all of our $25 annual membership fees go to GSUSA to manage technology and insurance and all of those kinds of things. And we have a great partnership with GSUSA. The STEM Center of Excellence was the first such entity in the country. It was the first STEM Center of Excellence in the United States. It served as a model and an inspiration for a number of other Girl Scout councils across the country that were looking to really drive workforce development in their community. So we're really proud of that. We continue to be on the forefront of the STEM work that's happening at the national level. Now, with our focus on mental health, we're also in conversation about what the national movement's commitment to mental health will look like. So Northeast Texas gets to be a part of that, as well as our quick pivot to really escalate our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've had a voice at the national level as well. So we're always so proud that when something works here in Northeast Texas, we get to share it at the national level. We are a large council, a large Girl Scout council. Not every council has as many girls or as much revenue as we do. And so we are happy to share what we learn here and hopefully can have an impact on girls throughout the country.
It's always great to see our region leading the way. It's exciting.
As always, right? Doesn't North Texas always lead the way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I wanted to kind of look ahead now as you've obviously had to pivot a bit with the pandemic, and we're at least beginning to see some light at the end of the tunnel for a return to whatever normal is going to be moving forward. What do you see as the greatest challenges and opportunities ahead for your organization?
Yeah, I think for businesses, I think the tide is definitely turning, but I think for nonprofits, we have a little bit more uncertainty left to go. It's going to be a couple of years, I think, before we're able to get back to where we were. I've been CEO for almost 7 years now. We had phenomenal growth over the last 5 to 6 years. Our budget had gone up 30%. We were finally growing in our number of girls pre-pandemic. But unfortunately, over the last year, we've seen a 26% decline in our girls because families are making different decisions right now. Parents are super busy. They're not volunteering, and we don't have access to schools. So probably, and without question, the biggest challenge we have going forward is convincing families that Girl Scouts is the organization they need for their daughters. Right. I think as we get back into whatever normal looks like, families are going to make different decisions about scheduling their kids. We were pretty overscheduled pre-pandemic. I think families are going to want to manage that a little differently post-pandemic. So we have some work to do to ensure that families see us as a relevant organization for their daughter that will really add value, because if we can't add value, then why bother with Girl Scouts? But I think because we're so committed to this work that girls really need, I think we're going to have a good story to tell. So I think my biggest concern right now is around membership and relevancy. We've been very fortunate to take advantage of some of the stimulus that has come out of the federal government to keep us afloat and make sure that our employees can continue to be paid. But it's going to be an interesting time. We have a big opportunity ahead of us. I joke, one of the benefits of the pandemic is now no one disputes the importance of the outdoors. Everybody can agree that outdoors is important for mental health. Yes. And going forward, we're going to be investing significantly in our 3 other camps besides the STEM Center of Excellence and ensure that our girls have a 21st century opportunity to get outdoors, explore the outdoors, develop that interest and respect for the environment that we want them to have. So that's the big exciting work ahead. And we'll just have to see how the rest of this plays out with the uncertainty in the future. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting, but it sounds like you guys are well equipped for anything that comes your way. I wanted to kind of close our conversation and maybe allow you to get philosophical. It was a big deal in our house when we have a woman as our vice president, right? Yes. Vice President Harris is looks like your Girl Scouts, right? It's an amazing thing as a father of a daughter to be able to point that out. And I have to think that's meaningful for the organization. And as a whole, just the role of women in America. As prior to our conversation, I kind of, looked up some of the leaders, even from our area, like Melinda Gates and others. can you just talk a little bit, a big picture on the role of women in America, especially in the context of our new vice president and how that aligns with Girl Scouts?
I always say girls can't be what they can't see. So it's hard to imagine being the president of the United States if you've never seen a woman or someone who looks like you in that position. So today, regardless of your party, Republican, Democrat, whatever, it doesn't matter. For girls to see someone who looks like them in that position of leadership is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. And, we always talk about the number of women who are in Congress, women in Congress who are Girl Scouts, 69% of female U.S. senators, 57% of women serving in the House of Representatives. 5 out of the 9 female governors were Girl Scouts. All 3 women who were ever secretaries of state, all of them were Girl Scouts: Hillary Clinton, Madeleine Albright, and Condoleezza Rice. So, and now you're seeing still few, but more women CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. When girls can start to see that, they're going to start to believe that they can be that. And that is what we need more of. So I celebrate, the women who are on the Supreme Court, the women who are in Congress, the women who are in public positions and, doing great things for our community. Our girls can start to think that that's just normal and start to set their sights really high for what they can possibly do.
Well, we appreciate the role that you play in that, again, as the father of a daughter. Very special, the role that Girl Scouts plays in our community. Jennifer, thanks so much for joining us. Now, one more time, if we want cookies, website, where do we go?
So you can visit www.gsnetx.org, and you'll find a link to our cookie finder there.
Awesome, Jennifer. Thanks for joining us. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to the We Are North Texas podcast. I'm Paul Corliss. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you.
UNT World is a special place filled with talented and dedicated students, faculty, and staff that do amazing things every day. With our heart in North Texas, we transform lives and create economic opportunity through education. We are North Texas. I'm Paul Corliss. Talk to you soon.